Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
A recording of Prince Les Diddy was played throughout the trial.
Cassie said he would get physical. That one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security.
Diddy's countenance transformed as soon as Prince's voice entered the courtroom. His composed manner faltered as the room reverberated with the iconic artist's last recording, an apparition testifying from the afterlife. What was it about this track that caused one of the most influential people in music to lose his cool? Hollywood is reeling from the implications of the shocking evidence that was just revealed on the third day of this blockbuster trial.
Just trying to listen. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was what if he caught wind of some, I'll just say allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing? That seems to be, like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well? So I'm just trying to think, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had, or no, they actually found cameras.
Problems?
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him abusing drugs. He worked out, so, that also really concerned me, because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so...
Began similarly to the two that came before it, reporters scrambled for the finest seats. While legal teams meticulously organized their documents and celebrities entered through side doors, something felt off this morning. The courtroom was electrifying, not just packed. Security personnel stood in every available space. This is typical for a high-profile case, isn't it? However, they doubled the typical number today. 4 officers who hadn't done so in the past moved to stand right behind Diddy's table. They had special instructions that morning, according to a court insider, but no one gave an explanation for why Diddy entered the room without seeming to be perturbed. He nodded at fans in the gallery while sporting a well-tailored navy suit, and even used his well-known smile protective shield whispering technique. While they settled in, he looked like a man who thought he had everything under control. What he didn't notice was the unusual Prince's recording activities is disclosed by the prosecution at the prosecution table. 2 tech experts covertly erect equipment that wasn't there for the first 2 days. The main prosecutor, who kept looking at Diddy with what can only be characterized as anticipation that something was coming, and that only the prosecution knew what it was whispered to, and connections were checked. There were rumors all over the place. People were texting each other from across the room, wondering what bomb the prosecution was about to drop. We all felt it coming, a courtroom reporter later told me. After the customary ceremony, the judge arrived and stayed in the gallery for a while before saying, any disruptions will result in instant removal. The prosecution used the same systematic strategy as before in their opening comments that morning. They went over the previous day's testimony, making connections between the evidence and the witnesses. Before the main prosecutor abruptly halted in the middle of his sentence, it nearly appeared normal. The prosecution would like to now, Your Honor, introduce important audio evidence that our forensic experts has just verified. She carried a tiny black gadget as she walked up to the bench. The defense raised an objection right away, arguing that they had not been adequately informed of this material. Following a contentious sidebar during which Diddy's lawyers made forceful gestures, the judge finally decided in favor of the prosecution. During discovery, the evidence was appropriately revealed. He declared that the prosecution could move forward. That's when it took place. The prosecutor looked to appear in court and say the words that made all the difference. The last private tape Prince Rogers Nelson made before passing away is what you are going to hear. The space froze. Reporters ceased typing. A collective exhale reverberated throughout the. The legendary musician Prince was set to deliver a message from beyond the. The lead lawyer for Did took hold of his client's. Diddy's face lost color so fast that you could practically see it happen in real time. As the prosecution connected their power in the room, Diddy's entire legal team drew close, desperately knowing that something terrible was about to happen. Additionally, based on the abrupt
Such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. It's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a fourth day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs's desires. "I'm always ready to freak off," one message said.
Cassie was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff, and essentially that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009, "I'm always ready to freak off." There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, is what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. Obviously, they were in the honeymoon stage, and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going.
The prosecution said that what you're about to hear was found in Prince's secret vault. There were whispers throughout the courtroom. People's seats were leaned forward. Reporters tapped frantically on their phones. This wasn't merely any proof. Prince was communicating from beyond the grave. In this instance, the recording was made just weeks before Prince passed away in 2016. The prosecutor explained, and it was never intended for public consumption. According to her, Prince made this as insurance to record what he personally saw. That was the tone of Prince's voice when it first came on. Prince sounded anxious, saying in a low, almost clandestine voice, he wasn't playing. This was the Prince's most intimate, unguarded moment. Then everything in the courtroom shifted as Prince began mentioning names, dates, and places with Diddy at the center of it all. Prince talked of gatherings at Diddy's houses in Miami's Hamptons. As the tape played, I observed Diddy's face the same parties that 3 other witnesses had already testified about. His confident grin vanished in a matter of seconds. His eyes grew wide. Diddy was held in place, staring straight ahead while his lawyer tried to whisper something to him. As the recording went on, Prince's voice became more frantic, asking, what happened at ends what prosecutors claimed. He was offering insider confirmation that no one could contest a dead guy cannot be cross-examined. He cannot be coerced into altering his account. Prince explained a significant gathering in December 2015. He listed the attendees, including 2 famous people who had previously denied ever going to Diddy's private parties. Prince said that the recording showed the typical arrangement. The timing was flawless, almost dramatic. Everyone in the courtroom turned to stare at Diddy. His calm exterior had totally fallen apart. He had a pale face. His hands, which had remained motionless on the table during the trial, were now clearly trembling. It was too late when his lead lawyer put a yellow legal paper in front of him, ostensibly to hide the jury's view of his response. Everyone had witnessed it. As soon as Prince's voice recognized him, Diddy's meticulously erected wall of confidence came crashing down.
The other things that the Diddy's team tried to do was show how they had breaks, and she was with Michael B. Jordan and was with Kid Cudi for a minute. But during that time period, she was still having freak-offs with Diddy, and I think that was them trying to show, like, this wasn't a controlling thing. Here she was, like, hooking up with other people. She just was into the freak-offs.
I kind of buy that, to be honest.
So...
Like, she's out of the freak-off scene. She is, when she's with Kid Cudi, or you know, allegedly with Michael B. Jordan, she's kind of out of the freak-off if she wants to be. So why do you keep going back? I know it's kind of like a mental, like, she still loves Diddy. Diddy was jealous about her.
Oh, yeah, because that was another thing that the prosecutors were trying to do, is show that, that they had a very jealous relationship. She would get jealous when he's with Kid Cudi. Also, like, Kim Porter, Cassie would be jealous of Kim Porter.
Right.
Trying to show that, like, Cassie, you were in love with this guy. That's why you were jealous.
Right.
So, like, this was a real relationship.
It was just interesting to see Chris Brown.
I mean, he's always coming up somewhere.
He is.
Chris Brown.
All right, final story of the week. Final story of the week. Justin Bieber is not a victim of Diddy. So this was one of those, like, rumors or whatever that was flying around in the months leading up to the trial. And to be honest, there was quite a few rumors flying around, like, you know, was there minors involved? Says if no other celebrity was part of freak-offs, why are they in hiding? Are they in hiding, though?
I don't think they're in hiding. I just think other celebrities didn't want to insert themselves. No one wants to be tied to Diddy one way or the other.
Even if you're at a white party, like just having a lot of fun, at, you know, one of Diddy's white parties, you don't want to be linked in any way.
No, and that's why, like, all those people, there's a few people I think that have come forward and been like, I didn't
win his favor in order to maintain it. Not only did Prince's remarks astound everyone, but we also witnessed Diddy's entire collapse in front of our very eyes. For 2 continuous days, he had been the epitome of composure. He stayed unmoving, while the accusations pointed fingers at him. He quietly whispered to his lawyers as the devastating images came on screen. His meticulously constructed persona never cracked, but Prince's voice altered everything. The metamorphosis that occurred as the recording went on was startling. In a classic move, his lawyer, the same accomplished attorney who has represented other celebrities, put a hand on Diddy's forearm and violently yanked it away, causing water to splash from a glass on the defense table. A number of jurors responded, visibly looking at each other. One another. In real time, the guy who had built an empire on his calm, collected demeanor was falling apart.
You know, they have their notebooks in their hand. They're coming in. They're very alert. And I think this is one of those testimonies where you have no choice but to pay attention and almost be flabbergasted, obviously, at some of what you're hearing, because it's not only just insight into somebody's sex life, but the details are disturbing at times, especially during that prosecution testimony when we saw some of the alleged abuse, or we saw pictures of her after a beating of some kind, according to her. But the jurors are definitely paying attention. I don't see anyone that's not keeping their focus on Cassie Ventura, and also I noticed them taking notes a lot of times.
And the children, as they were exiting court yesterday, 2 of the girls were seen crying. How emotional have they been in court? Again,
I cannot imagine if that was my father or somebody close to me up there and having to hear details of their sex life. Those are young women. They lost their mother, one of them, the twins. So no one can probably quite understand what it is that they're going through, but I think that's something that you think about on both sides, you know, to look at Alex Fine, which is Cassie Ventura's husband, and think about him having to listen to all that's being said about the type of woman that Cassie Ventura was versus the person that's expecting, you know, their 3rd child together now. So whether it's Combs's family or Ventura's family that's there to support her, her brother and her husband, Alex Fine, I think it's difficult on both sides. Seeing him taking notes from the beginning, I see him put his glasses on. He gets very close to the screen when they're reading some of those text messages. So he's paying attention.
Now, Ventura confirmed that she and Combs had conversations about a swingers lifestyle, but that the freak-offs, they were very different.
Yeah, so she talked about this idea where I guess Combs wanted her to watch him have sex with another woman. She said that happened 2 or 3 times, but that he mentioned it frequently.
Kim Porter came up today in testimony. What was the significance there?
The defense said early on that this case would be about infidelity, love, and jealousy. And this is where they brought that up today when they brought up Kim Porter's name. The defense asked Cassie Ventura, are you jealous or were you jealous of Kim Porter? And Ventura sort of contemplated, but did get to this moment where she said, knowing that Combs spent holidays with his family, which meant with Porter, did bother her. And she admitted that. They also pointed out that there was testimony where she talked about being insanely jealous overall as a girlfriend. So, yeah.
We're hearing the judge wants Cassie off the stand tomorrow. Will the prosecution and the defense get equal time?
Yeah, as long as there aren't any additional motions, I think that is the goal, to have her off the stand by tomorrow.
Why do you think that? What's the reasoning behind wanting her off the stand tomorrow?
In the very beginning, Rachel, they told us that she would likely be on that stand 2 to
Prince's recording was played again by the prosecution of the matter. What further recordings are there that we haven't listened?